to nsɛm no ɛde ato abɔnten na ɛna no pɛ yɛnyɛ nipa titiriw bi ɛwɔ ha mehu na akyɛ paa metaa hu no wɔ TV so from afar bɛnɛ deɛ wabɛfia na no Erica Hianyo show no so ideas exchange and wohwɛ the way I know kasa ne nsɛm a wɔde to dwa bibia da di pefe sɛ ɔman Ghana da na kɔma so baabi a yɛn kɔmɔ no bɛgyina ɛyɛ ɔman Ghana yɛte bia nkasa Owura Johnson Asedu Nketia ɛde bɛto dwa nnura ɛwɔ University of Professional Studies Accra ɛde kyerɛ na nipa titiri a meka no ho asɛm why health minister paying why deputy chief of staff paying but saa bere deɛ as we speak ɔno na yɛ director NDC International Relations Directorate afi wɔn ho ni akɔ no Owura Alex Segbefia ɔno ɛna yɛne na ɔtwetwe nkɔmɔ anɔpɛ. Chief, good to see you. Good morning.
Kwame, thank you so much. Good morning to yourself and your co-colleagues here.
Yeah.
And also good morning more especially to your viewers and listeners.
Absolutely.
And it's my pleasure to be in your studio once again.
Yeah. I'm sure when I get better with my one of these days we'll try and do the interview in Eve.
Well, I tend to speak only on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I speak Chi. So today is none of those days. So we just speak in English.
Good to know. But of course, yesterday, true State of the Nation's address was delivered by the national chairman. I mean, the question any Ghanaian would be asking at this moment was, yes, we know the state in which we are in. But what were you seeking to portray, especially when the constitutional mandate makes it instructive that is the president's prerogative to deliver the State of the Nation's address? What were you seeking to portray by delivering a true State of the Nation?
Let me first of all try to amend your first statement, which is that Ghanaians know the State of the Nation. I think that the propaganda of the MPP over the years does not allow Ghanaians to really understand the predicament we find ourselves in. We have been brought to by the MPP government. So it becomes imperative when a State of the Nation address is full of omissions which are crucial and embellishment of things which are not, and the emphasis is focused on almost a campaign message as opposed to what the true state of our nation is. And I think that the NDC yesterday, through our chairman, Honorable Johnson Asedu Nketia, made it extremely clear where we were, where we are, the difficulties we find ourselves. And therefore, it was imperative that we came out with this true State of the Nation address. What people should...
So just hold on. Is that to suggest that what was delivered by the president... was falsehood? Because you use words like embellishment and then what?
Look, when the president talks about
omission, you use words like omission.
When the president leaves out anything to do with the issue of what happened at Ashama, which was fresh, everybody was looking to, then there are omissions. If he doesn't accept any form of responsibility by his government in the predicament we have, then there are omissions. If by simply glossing over our macroeconomic indicators without going into any detail or an apology even, considering the campaign messages they came on, then there are gaps in the State of the Nation address he actually portrayed. And when he doesn't explain some of his own actions, so why was the Bank of Ghana allowed to borrow to the government almost 50 billion in that year alone, 2022? Why? There was also borrowing in 2021. Some say almost 40 billion. So if you put the two together, you're looking at close to 90 billion, which is way above the 5% threshold that the Bank of Ghana is. And you have to juxtapose this against an NDC government led by John Dramani Mahama, who in 2016, in an election year, did not borrow one cedi from the Bank of Ghana in order that our macroeconomic indicators, which we then bequeathed to them, were in such fantastic shape. So when you look at that, then you realize that the State of the Nation address we got didn't do justice to what was actually happening in Ghana.
But was it not obvious? I mean, we'll come into the highlights of Ase Nketiah's speech, but was it not obvious? I mean, when the president gave the preamble that, look, he knows the situation we find ourselves in, and that's the reason, I mean, at least for the first time in the State of the Nation's address, he's decided to stay a lot more in terms of detailed explanation on the economy and where we were, why we are in the situation in which we are, which of course he lays the blame squarely on COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I mean, is it not because of the timing which we are in, for which he had to stay on that tangent?
No, I beg to differ. If you go to a hospital, your child is sick, you don't expect the doctor to tell you that, oh, your child is sick and he has a temperature. You know that already. You want him to tell you that, look, he's got malaria, he's got typhoid, he's got this, and possibly you have to know this. So he had to go into some detail. He didn't. Where's the 50 billion you borrowed? Okay, COVID funds. You actually stated categorically that there has been no mismanagement of COVID funds.
Yeah.
But we have a report, and the report is telling all of us that there are serious gaps in how COVID expenditure took place. And so how much of those COVID funds did you use for budget support? Bearing in mind you were still borrowing from the Bank of Ghana, almost 50 billion. So all this money that came from COVID funding, where did it go and how was it used? There is a gap. So you don't make categorical statements, but you know, it's not new to our president. He makes very serious categorical statements. We will not go to the IMF, as what's it called, Johnson Ase tried to imitate. And here we are. Here we are. We will not have haircuts.
Yeah.
Here we are. Here we are. And that is why, in terms of what he says as a president, for some of us, his credibility is so short or been so discredited that we take everything he says with a pinch of salt. We would rather look at the reports, look at the documents, and make our own judgments. But to say that because the president said it, that is how it should be. Yes, previous presidents, you give it more weight. But the statements that have been shown not to be accurate, made by our president, puts him in an exclusive zone of one.
But you know, with the argument you're advancing, I'm tempted to ask that, would this be the first time a sitting president, may have made such an omission with regards to the entire state of the nation? I mean, have we ever had a State of the Nation address where a president has touched on everything regarding the country?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this is the first time a president has left out so much and has not explained so much that it is unacceptable. So a true State of the Nation address has been made and given for Ghanaians to know where we are. And I think that is appropriate. I think that, look, Kwame, MPP government under Nana Addo has failed. Let us make it, that is how we start it. It has failed. What we are seeing is damage limitation. If we have free, fair elections tomorrow, 6 months' time, 7 December 2024, free, fair elections, they will be struggling. As for the presidential, it's already gone. The parliamentary, if they are not careful, they'll get a shock. Ghanaians are fed up with the lies and the untruths and all kinds of stories. Why? We know how they came. We know what they said. Common inflation. We were at 16%. Oh, we have left single digit. We have moved to 16%.
Yeah. I mean, you say we know how they came.
Yes.
Of course, 2020 elections, Ghanaians gave their verdict on the government.
But that was because of the manipulation of the figures. We kept telling Ghanaians, look, the number of press conferences and meeting of the press that we did with Atu Forsin, with Adongo, with Alex Mould, a whole raft, with not one, not two. Not to mention building the Ghana we want by President Mahama, 27th of October. Not to forget Ghana at a Crossroads, which was done 2nd of May, where we pointed out last year, we pointed out all the problems that were coming or had arrived. And before even the 2020 elections, we were screaming from the rafters that these figures, they are not correct. This under the table, below the line or whatever, doesn't work like that. This is bad accounting processes. Still, because of the government's manipulation, they were able to hoodwink Ghanaians into thinking all is well. They even hoodwinked our international partners.
That's right.
It was when they went for another Eurobond, this thing, so close to after having 3 billion, that people sat up and said, no, something is not right here. You've just come for almost 3 billion. What is the issue again for further? And then when you couldn't get, you reduced the amount, you still wanted the money, alarm bells began to ring in the markets. And all of a sudden, you were exposed. What we had been saying all along came to pass. And they would not listen to, I mean, the biggest problem of this government is the inability to listen.
Yeah.
They don't listen to anybody. And that comes from the president. If we had gone to the IMF a year and a half, even a year before we actually decided to go, we would have been dealing with, although fake, different macroeconomic indicators, which would have helped us to get better deals, which would have not allowed us to be exposed as much as we did. Now we are completely and totally exposed. We are told that we are below junk status by the rating agencies.
That's right.
So, I mean, when you said you inherited a bad economy, at the time you came in, we were at B-. You could go to the Eurobond market, which you did. You celebrated it with kinky and fish at the Ministry of Finance. And you told them, but this was a bad economy that allowed you to go. Now you are coming to give somebody an economy where you can't go at all. Whose is better? So if ours was bad, according to you, what is yours? It's not even where it's the worst we have seen ever. In this Fourth Republic, we have never seen the likes of wastage, and I use the word I've had, but fraudulent activity and behavior, lies, untruths to get us where. But now, the chickens are coming home to roost. Everybody is beginning to, and we are praying. We've missed the deadline again for going to the deadline for the IMF,
right.
the board.
Yeah,
we've missed it. Now we are going to try and push. I mean, when we even went to the IMF, we packaged the program and we took it to the IMF, and the IMF said, "Oh, your program is good." He said, "To give us credibility, let it be your program." They came on board. They said yes, because if we had done it ourselves, people will still be skeptical. Once the IMF is involved, the policeman is. You can't even get yours approved. You can't even go and get the approval. How much money? And it was put out there. The whole amount of money that in the last, say, 8 years, we have gone to the IMF how many times? The total amount of money that we took, it's not close to the 3 billion. It was 2.9.
That's right.
That we wanted. Or how many governments? You alone, one, you need 3 billion. And you cannot account for the 2-point-something COVID funds that you got that nobody else had.
But is it not an expression of the times in which we find ourselves in? I mean, and for this government is quite a peculiar one, because there's if you like, there's a snowballing effect of problems from far and wide. COVID, Russia, Ukraine, and a host of them.
I find it almost...
Has there been any government within the Fourth Republic or even in the history of Ghana that have gone through problems of this nature before?
This problem...
Would you be able to name one?
This problem is minimal compared to a problem of doomsor.
Yeah.
Why do I say so? It's a global problem. So everybody has an interest and everybody has sympathy with you. That's why you get COVID funds. Billions. Doomsor, who came and gave John Mahama penny? It was an internal problem. Over the years, we hadn't sorted our power. And what did John Mahama said? He didn't say, "Oh, the previous government that this." He said, "I'll fix it." Theo, You have made me speak tree. He said, I will fix it.
That's right.
Did he fix it? He fixed it. Even the parliamentarians, I think, to a chairman, confirm that, yes, Doomsaw was fixed.
But why doesn't the president acknowledge that? Because he says, after all, there's no Doomsaw.
Look,
you heard him at the March 6 parade. And
there is no Doomsaw because
address.
you can get fuel to. There are plants which can fuel and give you electricity. Who brought them?
Well, they feel
It was John Mahama.
they feel it was a financing problem, and they came to solve it.
What for
The MPP government,
solve it in what way?
they provided the funding.
The same problem that is going to was in the past. If we are not careful, will hit us. You see, MPP don't plan. At the moment, we haven't added any extra power plants to our system because you say there's excess capacity. But you must project. In the next 2 to 4 years, why? Our population is dropping or is increasing?
It's increasing.
Aren't you asking for people to come and do factories and businesses? So your requirement for power, there's a calculation. By a certain year, you will need a certain amount of power. And you always have to have a certain amount of excess capacity. So who is looking at it? So in 6 years, when Kufuor was leaving, we found the oil. By the time Mills was leaving, he had left one. We had just started producing on the one oil well that Kufuor had left. By the time Mahama was leaving, we were using now the one well, but we had done exploration for. So when you came, by August of the year you came to meet 2 oil. So now we have 3 oil wells.
Yeah.
How many? What the 6 years? What have you added? Are you planning? Are you? So yours is to chop, to eat. You don't want to know where the food is coming from. You are just eating. And you have eaten and eaten, and when you couldn't, you went and borrowed, and you ate that one too.
But they consume on what? I mean, when the NDC talks about consumption, I mean, explain it. We want to understand. They consume on what?
But
they consume what? Yeah.
If a lady comes and tells you from the MPP that me, I got 100,000 from the COVID fund, I got it, and the rest was shared. Why are you asking this question? They are sharing the money. They are sharing the money. If your president has decided that it's only private jet that you fly, they are chopping the money. When the government tells us they won't take government money to do any church, and they go and spend how much on a cathedral, which we can't see yet, why are you asking about where the money is?
Or the most expensive home.
Look, they have squandered the money. And that is not to say that building a church, I'm not against this thing, but be frank with Ghanaians. If you know that it is not going to be government money, don't use government. Don't come with all this money. Oh, it was from the contingency fund. Now contingency fund is that how much you spend on it to go and build cathedral, and you don't tell us, and you start clapping for yourself because you thought you have legally come out of a loophole.
But your members of parliament could have prevented that.
How? It's in the contingency fund. You can't. You can't prevent it. Why? It's not. He took it from a fund that exists. There's money in that. So it has nothing to do with members of parliament. They have exposed it, but they are clapping for themselves because we didn't take any money per se.
But so then it was much ado about nothing when they raised the issue at the censure motion committee sitting. Then it means there was much ado about nothing.
No, it was. Look, people will now understand how people can misuse position and power. And the MPP are classical. El Clasico for that matter. Because they play games without looking at the long-term effect and how it affects Ghanaians. Everything is in the law. This is why. When the Auditor General produced his report,
that's right,
you heard a statement from the Attorney General saying that is it now that you know at COVID report that advice from where?
It was advising that AG.
Who is he to advise the AG at this time? All these years they didn't know that they have to advise. All these years you didn't know that advice, and how accurate is the advice? This is a national issue. No, forgive me, it's an international issue. The money it was given to us by foreigners, and you must show an account, and people, so you hide that report. Why? We told you that this money was never used for the purpose that it was entitled. It was a campaign fund. They used it to win 2020 election. And and even that, there are suspicions as to whether they won or not. The figures don't add up. Yes, but they said, so we've gone to court, we've heard what the court has to say. We have moved on. But please, they should stop throwing dust in our eyes. We are wearing glasses now. We take them off, we clean it, we see clearly.
Very well. I'm mastering power. And you realize, say, if you're in a chicken come. I mean, so far, you are dying a deep fair when you come to chicken and say, Nanado Danko Kufado are buying in some of waka or my Ghana, your Bob Breno, Nina Quay Tronin Nada, and they say, Omutu Futuro, you go a Ghana for any. But let's get into the key highlights, the major highlights of the true state of the nation's address. On the issue of corruption. Johnson Ase Dunketia, Honorable Johnson Ase Dunketia puts it bluntly that the president has become more of a clearing agent. I mean, the latest one being his interest in the Galamsey menace, and Professor Frimpong Boateng indicating that he knows for a fact that people at the Jubilee House are involved. Here's the president who's so much curious to finding a solution, and then he advises the CID to conduct an investigation. Would you describe such an action as one that is synonymous to a clearing agent?
Well, we are all clear that there's a clearing agent. Because some of the things are just interesting. Sometimes statements are made even before the investigation begins. That in itself is a problem when it's coming from the topmost person in the land. So you ask yourself, are we going forward or going back? And we are clear, without going into too much detail.
Yes.
Everybody is talking about all the various corruptions issues that have come up. I mean, look at the mess we are in. Why are we in this mess? It's because of borrowing. We've borrowed ourselves into a mess. And the truth is that COVID is not exclusive to Ghana. As Johnson Ase Dunketia said, it didn't jump over all the other countries and come and land in Ghana. Everybody had COVID. They all had to deal with it. So why is our own worse than everybody's? The reason why ours is worse is because of the borrowing that we did. Which company was the lead negotiator for the borrowing? Data Bank, which the finance minister has an interest in. So every time we go and borrow, Data Bank gets a commission. And you have the finance minister who is making the decision whether we borrow or not as the person who is benefiting through the borrowing. It has a smell. And when something has a smell, you try and move away. So if everything was happening normally in Ghana, there will be no problem. But everything is not happening normally. Now the thing has reached a point where, because of these issues, the first thing you should have done was to ask the finance minister to step aside. For many reasons, one of which is this issue about who is benefited. Two, who is responsible, and people are pointing a finger at the finance minister. Three, give investor confidence so that the people you are going to sit at the negotiation table would say that you are taking things seriously. You have said no. You have stuck to your gun. So we are clear what we are dealing with.
Because he sees no reason.
He sees absolutely no reason.
That's an argument he advanced. He sees no reason.
But so the whole, all the CSOs, all the 88 of your so 80 something of your MPs, or just 90 of your MPs felt that there was an issue. The whole opposition is telling you that. Why? So what is so sacrosanct?
He says there are various interests. I mean, some wanting jobs, perhaps in his government, opposition.
Then you don't have them. You
wanting to take advantage.
You don't
of
have the men. If he's the only one that can sit and do this job, we don't have the men in MPP. They don't exist, and the one that we have has put us in this mess. So, are you ready for governance? It's an indictment of the MPP government. You mean one person? You can't. Look, no one is indispensable. No one. We all went to bed one day. We woke up. We had a president. By 2 o'clock, we didn't have a president. By 9 o'clock, we had a president. Yeah. Did Ghana stop?
No.
Exactly.
Here we are today.
We are all. So this belief that, oh, if this, no. Yes, there may be pros and cons, but the pros of removing the person far outweigh the cons.
Could the pros be his competence?
Then you don't have the men.
As per the
then you don't have the men
Mm.
because you are supposed to have the men. So there are lots of competent people. They are supposed to be lots of competent people. So it can. So you are saying you have one competent person, really?
I'm asking a question.
So yeah, so for me, I mean, everything flies in the face of this particular.
Could there be more to it? I mean, the reason why Ken Ofori-Atta is still at post.
I've given you 3 general reasons why he should have been. He himself should say, I won't do again. And he said, no, I hear you, I love you dearly, you are my uncle or my cousin, but where we are now, as we should let me go.
But that can happen when he sees what you see. I mean, what the opposition sees, what the CSOs are seeing, but he seemed not to see it.
But he's not seen a lot of things. He's never seen a lot of. I mean, here's a person who comes out openly and says that I'll build 111 hospitals in 18 months. And you have already failed in building 88 in 12 months. So you should have some knowledge by that time that a promise like that is going nowhere. I shouldn't be speaking like that. But he makes that statement. I'll build 111 hospitals in 18 months. The 18 months is gone. And we don't have a single hospital yet that is completed. What we would be expecting in a crisis like that is say, look, I may have a vision of 111 hospitals, but I'm going to try and complete 5 before I leave office. And I'm putting order. And the 5 that I think are most important are in this area, and that area, and that area. So all funds that we have that are available at this moment, we are going to put them in those. No statement like that. So at the moment, on the face of it, all 111 hospitals, 111, assuming that they're 111 anyway, I don't know that. I know they had land problems with some place, and so we don't know really how many are supposed to be awarded to contractors who are supposed to be on site. But the truth of the matter is that you cannot finish those hospitals. And if
you acknowledge the problems that they are facing, meaning that they have a plan, but
there are no problems. All the problems they were facing.
You said they have land issues.
I'm telling you what they say. When we told them that there were land issues with the hospitals that were being built in Takrady, they said that no, we are done bad because we are chop money.
Wow.
So why is it that they are having land problems? We should hear. They should go and tell that to the Marines. Why should we hear it? We told you that this, and we didn't build. We're not talking about 111. We were talking of how many? 6 or 7 hospitals, and even that we had problems. You won't listen to that one. You are telling us that we should listen to your problems now. Which problems? There couldn't have been problems because you said you were doing it 18 months. I mean, unless you don't know what it goes into building a hospital, and that would be sad because you have. Look, I have been in the Ministry of Health.
Yes.
Some of the best minds are there. Don't advise. It's not possible. You don't make a statement like that unless it's for political reasons. Why? John Mahama can come out and say we will build an airport everywhere in Ghana. Put it in the manifesto. It's not viable. It's not. But you can say it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And win the applause.
And maybe in 30 years' time it will be achieved, or 50 years' time. Yes. But you have said it now, so Ghanaians should vote for you. There will be an airport in every region. There are 16. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
So you don't just talk like that. It must be backed with something. Where is this? Where's the something? You haven't built one. No. As we are speaking, sitting here, is there one completed hospital? You know. No. Then there's even a worse problem there. Look, when you are building a hospital, the first question you should ask yourself is which staff are going in? Where are the doctors? Where are the nurses? You have created at the moment, people are not talking about, but there's a brain drain going on as we speak.
Yeah.
Nurses, doctors, everybody is leaving town.
That's true.
So when you build even these 111 hospitals, assuming Angel Gabriel came down and waved his wand, and all of a sudden there were 111 hospitals standing for the dear Nanado president. Apologies. Who is going to work in these hospitals? Who?
Because the brains are gone.
And you are not set up. It's the same with the free SHS.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hey, we said, wait for the first 2 years of your government. That 2 years, try and finish off the hospitals, sorry, the schools that John Mahama had already started. Finish them. You've now got oil money and some other funds. Concentrate on finishing the school. Expand the teacher training. Make sure that they employ enough teachers. The dining halls and some dormitories in existing schools, add them quickly. Spend 2 years concentrating on that, so that when you then implement free SHS, you won't have traffic light system. You go in the morning. You are stressing the teachers. The teachers should teach from 8, 9 in the morning right to 6 in the evening. Some have to even do evening classes.
It's unclear when school reopens.
My brother, a mess. Nobody wants to, but it was the free SHS was a mess. Why did we put ourselves in that mess? Oh, students must go to school. They must definitely go to the school. So they go to school and they don't learn anything because
you mean
teachers are not there.
The manner in which it was implemented?
Yes, it's a fantastic look. The idea of free SHS is a fantastic idea, and it is in our constitution. It is not something that. What the difference is that Nana said now, immediate. But it is not an idea that didn't exist. And when John Mahama was doing it on a gradual basis because you realized the problems, you said no. You do it now. Why are you coming, Kruma? Self-government now. But you don't like the man, but he said now. And you two are saying now. Now the now has come and you cannot manage it. You cannot manage it because we have all these people who are supposed to have been in classroom, in schools or whatever. We are just lucky that technically or by the grace of God, Ghanaians are actually very clever people. So a little education, a bit of reading, they don't even have textbooks. But they have managed. People are paying extra classes for their children. And the children at a certain level are doing, you're still getting a certain cadre of or cadre of children who are still doing very well. So that, but when you look at the total numbers, we have a problem in our workforce in the future. We are bringing out people who are not going to cut it.
But that's where the argument is. I mean, President Akufo-Addo advances, and the likes of him, I mean, his communicators, the argument he advances, after all, you don't have children staying at home without, you know, an opportunity or access to go to school. They are in school. Is that not better?
What are they learning?
They are not home.
I'd say, what are they learning?
But they are not home.
Those that are also not at home, when they did the traffic light system, do you know how much pregnancy came out? Have you heard about that one too? You haven't talked about that? No, please. I look, the idea is good. The implementation was bad. It was poor. And it still has a lot of challenges. So we have to look at those challenges and see how best as a country we are going to deal with it.
Okay, let's stay a little while longer on the vulnerable, the children, women in our society. Johnson Ase Dinketia, Honorable Johnson Ase Dinketia, makes the point about the vaccines for our children, and not, without exaggerating, and connect, and being, as a parent, being able to connect with what you were saying, he wonders why our neighboring countries like Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire would come to our aid. But that's, I mean, if they came to our aid, that's good news, isn't it? After all, the problem didn't stay on for long.
You see,
they came to our
didn't
aid.
They have COVID?
You mean Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire?
No, the whole world, not them. The whole world had COVID.
Yes.
The whole world also know that Russia is fighting Ukraine. So why they were able to get their vaccines, we didn't get ours? It's a simple question. We have never run short of vaccines. Though. We always order. They have ordered, paid their own, and it has come. You didn't pay your own. It never came. Your children have started dying. People have measles. Doctors in this country, they only read about measles in textbook. They don't see it because we don't have measles again. Now they know about measles.
Yeah.
Because they have got them in their hospitals. Why? It's one of the worst indictments of the Nana Addo government. I'm telling you. That is one of the worst indictments. And we are giving medals out to the people who are in charge. I mean, what message are you sending? Nana, Johnson Ase said it yesterday. Why? The vaccine procedure is clear. Ghana is now a lower middle income economy.
Yeah.
Therefore, your liabilities or your responsibilities, I should say, under purchase of vaccines changes from when you are a developing country.
That's right.
So for some items, including this, you are entitled to pay full 100%. The closing date for that is in September of last year. When you pay, vaccines are not items that are in a warehouse or a shop. When you pay, they go and break it and give it to you. No. I want 10 vials. I want 1,000 vials. When you pay the money, they go and manufacture it. So you are always projecting for the next year, not at the time you are paying, because it's manufactured specifically. They have expiry dates. So if you don't pay, they don't manufacture. So if you go back later and if you have the money, you will now start going through the same process and it is a cycle. So if you have missed that cycle, you have to get on to the next cycle. So you now have to go cap in hand to somebody who has got their buffer to last them the whole year and say that, give me your October, December consignment. And then when I get mine, I will replace it. In fact, I'll let them send it to you direct.
So more like borrowing.
And it's a difficult negotiation because they must make sure also that they do not put their country in a difficult position.
That's right.
Because they order what they need. So they will first of all make sure that you have covered your debt and have paid for the vaccines that they are manufacturing. And then those. So why? It's not rocket science. Everything I've said, you've understood it. It's a failure. Period.
And you want them to admit.
And there's a lack of prioritizing. Look, I kept saying to people, a sick child or a dead child can never benefit from free SHS. So which is the more important priority? A vaccine or free SHS? When you get extra funds, the first thing you must do is, there are some things you must always prioritize. Health is number one. If you don't have health, you have nothing. If you don't have life, you don't exist. Any benefits that exist is gone. So there are reasons why developing countries are given sometimes even 100% support by Gavi and UNICEF, for the simple reason that, you see, when the disease starts A, if you don't check it, it can go to B, even with the immunization. So they want everybody to have the immunization. But when you have now got you are boasting that, oh, we have the men, our country, Ghana is one of the best countries. We are now lower middle income economy, blah blah, and you are using the money to take private jets instead of using the money to deal with issues pertaining to health, then your priorities are wrong. You've got your priorities completely and totally wrong. And when you got COVID funds and you decided to chop it, why didn't you spend it rather on putting money down for vaccines? So that today when we take the COVID report, you say, oh, by the way, we took this whole amount to pay for vaccines. They will say, well, it's a health need as well. No, you have defaulted on the vaccines, you have chopped the COVID funds, all because of election. And every decision that is made in this country currently serves only two purposes. One, personal interest. Two, party interest. There is no national interest in these matters that are being dealt with.
Even when it comes to the children and steps that are taken to protect them. Let me show you a picture of one of Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia's campaign on social media. I don't know if Dr. Bawumia's team would want to confirm or deny this picture that is trending on social media. It's a picture of a child holding a placard indicating that, look, she is for Bawumia because her future is secured.
But her future with measles, or which one? I mean, if this is a correct picture. And I don't mind campaigns where a child is seen by a leader or flag bearer, or you go and ask a child, or you are doing something specific for children as part of. I don't see anything wrong with that.
You don't see anything wrong with that?
But I see something wrong with a placard, a campaign, where the child is the one doing the campaign. That I have issues with. If you go to make a point about helping children,
yes,
fine, but you don't. The child who is doing it, what does she know about Bawumia? What does she know about governance? What does she know about her future? So it's wrong. If an adult was holding the placard,
that's right,
and it was being put out I don't have a problem with
But is it not to reinforce their narrative that they are doing something for the kids?
Yes, but I think it's wrong. Whoever does or practices that is done. But for me, I think, so if you go to a campaign rally and somebody brings a child and you talk, or you see something happen, you stop, you deal with it. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You're looking at the welfare of the child. You're trying to augment the position of them. But a child campaigning with a placard, I think you have entered, it's a thin line, or it's a huge line, but it has been crossed. And I think that was wrong. Now, when you juxtapose that against where we are now with vaccines,
That's right.
then it makes a mockery of the whole government and the MPP for that matter, because at the end of the day, not only is Bawumia the vice president of the country, he's also an MPP stalwart who is seeking election as a president. Please.
And reconciling it with his seeking election bid. I mean, seeking to be the flag bearer of the MPP.
Yeah.
What does that say about him? And what does that say about him as the head of the economic management team, who's supposed to manage the economy, for which this child will feel safe under? What does it say about him? And you may want to link it to what
the fundamentals are weak.
Honorable Johnson, I said you get yourself.
If the fundamentals are weak,
Yes.
the exchange rate will expose you. We do not need to borrow any money in Ghana. I have worked at the Bank of Ghana.
You said that.
There is money in Ghana. We don't need to borrow any money.
Can I even use the toll booth?
I haven't even gotten there. Where is Bawumia's credibility? The exchange rates have really exposed you. We are in a very bad place. You are part, if not head, of the economic management team. Where is the economy? Now, you know what they are saying? They are saying, oh, everybody knows that he doesn't have any powers as the head of the economic management team. Hey! A whole vice president is a stooge. If you are a stooge as a vice president, what will you be when you are president? Another stooge? Are we looking for stooges, or are we looking for people who have a direction and a vision?
Wow.
No. The implication of the statement hasn't been thought through. He is head of the economic management team. He said that everybody knows. Everybody knows what? That he is not in charge. He's scared. Or somebody else. So, if that is the case, you are a stooge. And if you are a stooge, it means you are not making decisions even though you are sitting at the helm. And you are not a minister of state. You're not a deputy. You are the vice president of the country. So please, it's a wrong statement. I don't believe it. And if it is true, it is even worse. For reasons I've outlined. He is in charge. And he has failed us. It's a team. All of them who are in it are part of the failure.
And
it's called collective responsibility.
Proud to COVID, General Mosquito, of course, referenced the fact that when the FX committee was set up, he was not included. Is that a verdict on, even by the government, on Bawumia's performance?
They were trying to protect him from his position to campaign. It's no secret that the government is behind Bawumia. I believe so. I may be wrong. They may come and say, oh, but that is my belief. So allow me to have my belief. That the government, and that they fear Alan more than even NDC.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They fear Alan more than, because Alan will deal with them ruthlessly.
How?
Without any, but the way they have behaved amongst themselves.
But Alan is part of the team.
Oh,
of course.
This full respect that is going on. Me, look.
Names that were mentioned, Alan's name was mentioned with so much pride.
We don't, NDC, we don't bother who comes. They have lost. I've told you this from the beginning. That there is no election that is held within the next, up to 24, anytime, any day, 2024. If they postpone the election 2026, whatever happens, MPP, finish. They are gone. In a free, fair election. But when you have these macroeconomic indicators, inflation is at 54% or 52%.
Yeah, 53.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's dropped to 52.
The exchange rate
projection is that it will be around 50 in April.
You see, how do I say this? You cannot be partially dead. You are dead or you are not dead. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you are come to quibble between 52% and 50%, you have a big problem. Why? the guns of the Agbena. It's finished.
Finished.
You are come to top, you have 52. It's like the petrol prices. Oh, we have reduced prices. If the price when you came to meet it was 4 cedis, and you took it to 20 cedis,
that's
or
right.
25 cedis,
yeah,
and the price comes now to 15 cedis, you want me to clap for you?
But there's a reduction, or
from what are you talking about?
I think from 20 to
please. Hey,
that's why.
As for MPP,
when
it comes to propaganda, I clap for them. Hey, you came and met the thing at a certain level. You have taken it to unforgivable levels, and you have dropped from that unforgivable to still an unforgivable level. And we should clap for you. Bow down your heads in shame. So this is look, they have failed though. They have really, really failed. Look, if you want to go through the figures, debt to GDP ratio 103%, thereabouts, over 100. Take it or leave it. You want to go to our lending rate. You want to go to the amount they've borrowed from the Bank of Ghana. You want to go to the unemployment rate. You want to go to the backlog that are owed various. Now ECG is going around collecting money from agencies. Yeah. You want to look at the money that are owed BDCs for fuel. But look, when you put them all together, where are they going to hide? Where's the good news story in reality? Where? Tell me, where's this good news story? And you see whether somebody won't challenge it and you have a problem. There's no good news story. There is absolute IMF that you are going to go and get money from. You are giving yourself credit that, oh, we are now in the IMF and soon by this thing, oh, we have missed this, that maybe in a month's time we'll be able to go. If not so, hey, IMF that we were never going to go to. We were never going to. Now, and we have told them and we keep telling them. When we said we did Senchi, let's meet, let's discuss. President Mahama said, see, we've told you, reduce the size of government. The optics are good. Debida. Ministers have resigned. What you do is you either, if you don't want to bring, reshuffle the ones, you add a ministry to somebody, do so. You are rather looking to bring in more ministers. Okay. You can't see that that is an opportunity for you to reduce the size of government. You can't see it. We've told you that the presidential staffers, and they will even call something le francophonie.
That's right.
Listen, I said, yeah, we have reached. And all in the presidency. And I'm like,
you've served as deputy chief of staff. Ever heard of a portfolio of that nature before?
Martin Newman will never.
Like manager of
and I wish him, I hope
programs.
he's well and he's okay. But Martin Newman would never allow such a thing as chief of staff.
Wow. Under
his watch. And he will have a direct chat with Professor Mills, and they will know how to deal with it.
Focal person, la francophonie.
It won't happen.
Wow.
It won't happen. That man is a straight, direct administrator who knows his left from his right and knows that he's building a nation with Professor Mills. It cannot happen. What are you telling me? I was there. And they will sit, he and Professor Mills, and they will talk. You bring in your finance minister before you come in with what's the controller accountant general. They will look at why is that all the macroeconomic figures during that period of 2008 to 2012 and moving even up into 2016, we were able to keep them on that even keel.
Is that synonymous with all the leaders of the NDC?
Of course.
Rollins,
of
Mahama.
course. We will have our ways.
Mills.
But because of the background we come from and the way we have been taught to operate, most of the leaders have certain parameters which we don't go beyond. It don't even cross your mind. It don't even cross your mind. But as for MPP and this government,
we have 8 minutes to wrap up. We have 8 minutes to wrap up the program, but we'll go into your recommendations, which will run us through, and then that critical question everyone is asking. My problem, Ghana problem here. What are you bringing to the table? What are you offering? Because at this stage, we're looking for what the next government would offer. what is the NDC offering in as much as you talk about the problems. But before then, my main kai Moshe said, Yane Urale Sebefia Nutrition Comona, Ye Nutrition Comafa, Oman Ghana, Ye Bob said you sit here, Ankasankas, to say, Honorable Johnson, a Syrian Ketiabetu Janra, war a year in Shemua, when they sent Trefonia Mansan and Shire with UPSA, no home como, and at Ye Nutrition, yes, I Bob Bonin Semnechi. But my gas also like natural clinic or the free screening, Asia Ghana for you now was a bra. Na yenhwehwe odunso mu on the 1st of April 2023 efra no pa nonso kosi enwumebre mu nonsia brane hwehwe moja ne ye fasting blood sugar ye prostate scan free womb scan ye no for free usage of the sonar machine obeba be use no free na fe so ya massage ye fidie be massage for free na ya ointment massage so for free myself for number said be ya in some me can or in Sembisabia with me episode from 05981707770 05981707770 Solar Natural Clinic was a quality first sciatic expert here 21st clinic or to us into the didim call national ya now what you know and on your friend sciatica na ayar sabia na say asupiti bakwa o magia to omohoso somebody sciatica no hujuma 21st clinic and nobody from more 0540 311 0540 311 21first clinic sciatica expert. Honorable, let's talk about what you're offering and then some of the recommendations that you're making.
I'm going to just rattle through this because that in itself is almost a program. But if you remember, when John Mahama delivered the Building the Ghana We Want,
yes,
he set out clearly, and this was in October 2022. He said, one, we have to cut costs, reduce waste and spending. He talked about the size of government. He talked about secretariats and agencies, too many secretariats and agencies which are not required. He spoke about the office of the president and the staffing numbers in the office of the president. He said you have to check waste and corruption. And we should stop this clearing agent business. Allow the investigative bodies to do their work. We should stop and suspend non-essential projects. And we should look at public procurement because the procurement process has a lot of question marks. Then you must look at stabilizing the currency, cutting the import bill and job creation. And you must revisit Operation Feed Yourself. And we talked about, if you remember, what Gobe and all
that's
those
right, Gobe Eaters Association.
Exactly. So then leverage the energy and petroleum sector in our favor. And so these are just a few. I've just given the headings. And then because each of them is a topic on its own.
One more, which has got to do with the constitutional review and the need to abide by the recommendation and deal with it. It's gotten a response from the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, it's been reported that he says, look, those advocating for that should hasten slowly. It has repercussions. Is that a response you are looking for?
I agree that it will have not repercussions, but it has things will come back as a result of it. I'm hoping that even if you want to use the word repercussions, they are favorable repercussions, not if you do it properly. So for me, the aspect of it that matters is we had a Fiajo report that did an extensive work. It's been almost 8 years now. We should put together another small team. If he's available, he should be part. And then we look at any changes that has been made in light of what we have seen, excuse me, in this last 8 years. Once we do that, the implementation committee is important because there are 3 segments of it. Some can be dealt with by legislation, some can be dealt with by parliamentary approval, some has to deal with referendum. Then you must also know that, as we found when they were trying to implement the right for MCs, DCs to vote, if you touch A and you don't touch E, you have a problem. A is affecting E. If you touch M and you don't go and touch Q, it's a problem. So you also have to look at those provisions that are interlinked. Once you do that, then you will know that this is a problem I'm trying to cure. Your lawyers and things will always try to find holes and misbehave. That is the nature of our job, is to read things that are not there and make them seem they are there. And even though the lawyers will attack me, but we have to always defend someone or put a different viewpoint on issues. That should not stop us from doing the right thing. And if you make some of it very clear cut, then it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Should all the president be saddled with 50% plus one MPs as ministers? Isn't it time to think of a reduction? Should it be 20%? Some people say no completely. Others say budgets have been not been allowed to pass in this thing because even when certain things are not given, if they are not executive, so we can reduce the number, or we can say, well, no, we have gone past that stage. We are now at a different level, and we can allow the president to decide one way or the other whether he wants to use MPs or not. There may come a time when he decides he wants to use 80% MPs. There may come a time he says, I won't use any at all. There are arguments pro and cons, but we have to look at it because the 50% plus one is not working. That's why you have all these officers or ministers of state without portfolio in the presidency.
That's right.
Who may not necessarily be required, but they need to meet a certain requirement. So an MP must go and perform that position. So there are areas, and I just take the simple one. There are many areas,
and I'm sure with time when we meet again, we'll deal with
appointments of judges, appointments of this thing. There has to be a better mechanism because there's too much. We are so polarized as a people that if you don't have a mechanism that people have a little bit more faith in, the moment somebody comes, they say, "Oh, he belongs to this party." It is no, and that is the problem we have.
Why should Ghanaians trust the NDC? Finally, before we go, why? What are you bringing?
Check our track record. See what we have done. Tell me one hospital, regional, that MPP has built.
I'm rolling my eyes.
Continue rolling. Tell me one university that the MPP has built. So I've given you two examples. We always think of the nation, both in health and education. We are always growing. We are always building. There is no comparison between the MPP and the NDC. We are totally different, both ideologically and in our actions and our deeds. So please, none of us is an angel, but we are actually carrying the cloaks for the angels. Some don't have any of the cloaks. So we are begging. There is no comparison between the NDC and the MPP.
Well,
we are miles apart. And come 2024, everybody should put partisanship aside. Everybody should put religious beliefs. Everybody should put ethnic beliefs. Everybody should just go and vote for the NDC. Because if for nothing at all, you must tell politicians that if you do not run us properly, we will move you. And we will move you en masse. Not little, we will let you go. And if the people who come also don't do what we need them to be doing and can't explain, we will also move them en masse. That is where I am with it.
Very well. Honorable, thank you so much for your time this morning on Dwabo Ase or Power 97.9. And then your mama must be that there macabre for kama. But Honorable, before I let you go, as the next program is coming, Ajumaini Power, he hosts the mid-morning show. He's going to be joining us pretty shortly. There's a project that we are running at XYZ Broadcasting Limited. Proud to the Easter festivities or during the Easter festivities. We wouldn't want a situation where the orphans and the destitute will be left alone without anything that will excite them, because during this period, that is when families gather, and in this situation they tend to be dejected and nobody comes to their aid. So XYZ Broadcasting Limited is putting things together, and then we're going to provide support for orphans within the various orphanages in Ghana. Last year, for instance, we went to the Teshi New Life Children's Home and then Countryside Orphanage at Dwabo Ase. So we call it Easter. Those are shots of what we did last year. And this year, we're doing it. We want you to endorse the project as we are asking people to donate either money or drinks or food to us at XYZ Broadcasting Limited. The Momo number is 059-721-5419. Momo number is 059-721-5419. So, Honorable, endorse this project for us, and possibly we also get your widow's mite.
Definitely, I think that it's a very, very laudable project. Anything to do with children, especially those that I call them God's special children.
That's right.
Because as a Christian, I believe strongly that God knows that for whatever reason He has taken their parents, and therefore, or they are not available one way or the other. Some have just been left, and so they are closer to Him than many think. And in some ways, you find when some of them tell you their stories, you wonder. You know, people have walked in the middle of the night from some place to the other, and nothing happened to that person.
That's right.
And you ask, I mean, a child, this thing, they have parents who or grandparents who have maltreated them, send them to farm at a certain point or this thing, and they come out unscathed. So I call them God's special children. And therefore, I think that what you are doing is laudable. It should be encouraged. I'll definitely do my widow's mite. I will not say what I'll do on air. Everybody should contribute or do something or help you in cash or kind to help those children who are in orphanages and who, for whatever reason, don't have their parents available to actually care for them. And I also take this opportunity to commend those who handle the orphanages, because it's not easy. Apart from all things, you all can also be accused of very many things. So you do a very difficult job. And a few bad apples can tend to taint the whole basket.
That's right.
When they're actually very good people who work in these orphanages and do a good job. So I take this opportunity to also commend them for what they do. And we will do our bit. So kudos to you, XYZ.
Thank you so much, Honorable Alex Segbefia. I was here for Honor and Nutrition Command and pay war Dwabo Ase Power 97.9 after so TV XYZ. Honorable Alex Segbefia, Director, NDC, a year International Relations Directorate. That's my person I was talking about. That's it. That's him. He loves to wear white. There he is. Sunday no catch. Sunday na catch.
Sorry. Sisi utumi catch. But okay, so enya bado. Matias. Kwame Easter chirawodo no. Very, very important. I think say as I said Ghana for Yesum. Na XYZ Broadcasting, Power FM, TV XYZ Albusian for Yesum. Sentini say yenim say ahokyere de ho ahokyere pa de ebi wo ho obi sorry a de obedi kra din then so no yemnyere ye ho na wa otimi kobai a wonye ajankai na wonya bini na de oda enyanka fie ono de obeden yesremo mumwayen na yentimi ko bonyanka no. That's right. You know say bia ono abo wai no abo say obemaye eye rice bag be say bia 10 near the Comanyanka or the Sichel crack and the American obet you. Set you with your betting. So now, what would Tim Mufi now so would the woman Crabia Ba, Semna Crabba in Colano Bijari or more a cinema and Colano Bichum say, Omunia paste, Omunia brush. And Quadano at least Ombedi Bibianopa, Coco B, Ombedibi, Tom Brown B, Ombedibi, Rice or Tabi Ombedibi, you been no beans a mom, you been no more mom, Yamwa, Baby will be a fan Jimubi. Na Obuan Quada we see ya. Yamiba boy that could be so fancy. Yes, Yamiba boy that could be. You have no idea. Ebia yen, Ebia now maybe, and now none be. None can so be Baba Yen Shirada Chibia. You have no idea. Minini pass a Brian President Mahama at 2 None of my men papa him so be president. I doubt say no Kufo. No, my man, Papa said that you are warning. No, and now no boy, let's say with Anna. So about Deputy Chief of Staff, Abe Health Minister. Just imagine. Just imagine. But Ebianani Papa and Mamma, ye be to her, and I do on what is huge. You understand?
Ghana, Niboya ding. Go beans like Arena.
You know, your beans, oh, beans bag back on the back. Gobe ewo ededua fie eti yenyina yemwa kwame da screen is ye mumu number no bia na wontumi mfa waduane ma ne makeka ntumi ma obetumi asani sika e dia ba sika bia wo bia e dia gu ye mumu number ne so 059 721 5419 059 721 5419 your friend Easter Chirawodo wo Easter yi yemfa nkoma enyanka omo nyanka fie
kitwa bi enhwa agimanie power nie obesisi ye ne honorable lese be fie awie dwumadie na ba na wie ye medi ni Kwame nka ochira na opanyen se nhia wo Dwabo Ase e wo Power FM na TV SYZ bye bye.